Shadows over Fray. The sky above the city of Vera was not like Earth's. It was violet at dawn, streaked with green, as if painted with strange fire. Twin suns rose slowly, one blue and one gold, their light scattering through a high canopy of crystalline trees. Their branches swayed in the thin air, shimmering with fractal patterns like stained glass. Kale, a young Viren artisan, stood at the balcony of his workshop, staring at the horizon. Something troubled him. The merchant. Convoys should have arrived 2 days ago, yet the skies remained empty. No silver-winged barges. No humming engines. No laughter of the off-world traders who brought spice, steel, and news. Instead, there were whispers in the streets. Rumors of raids. An empire stirring. And always the shadow of war. Kale brushed the dust off his claws and returned inside. His shop smelled of resin and burned copper, the scent of his craft. He worked with sound crystals, cutting, shaping, tuning them until they could carry voices across cities. His people prized art and resonance, not war. Vera had never been a military world, but the galaxy was changing. A sound echoed outside. Not footsteps, boots. Heavy, deliberate. Kale turned. Down the main avenue, armored patrols marched, their black banners dragging dust. The sigil was unmistakable. The Dominion of Althar. Kale's chest tightened. The Dominion had arrived. Stranger, that same morning, in a crowded tavern on the city's lower tiers, another figure sat quietly in shadow. His coat was patched, his boots worn, and his hands bore calluses from labor rather than ceremony. He didn't belong here. His shoulders were too broad, his skin tone strange among the pale Virens, his hair dark where there shimmered silver white, and his eyes sharp, restless, always measuring exits. His name was Jonas Hawley, once a soldier of Earth's forgotten fleets, but now just a drifter. A human. The barkeep eyed him with suspicion, as did the others. Few had ever seen a human on Vera. Fewer still knew what they were capable of. To most, humanity was a rumor from the frontier, a stubborn species that survived impossible odds, always building, always fighting. Jonas sipped the bitter drink and listened. Soldiers in black armor were shaking down shopkeepers outside, demanding tribute. The Dominion was tightening its grip, and Jonas hated bullies. Always had violence in the square by midday. The city square was packed. The Dominion commander, tall and draped in obsidian cloth, addressed the citizens. His voice carried through a loudspeaker, sharp as glass. From this day forward, Vera is a protectorate of the Althar Dominion. All tribute shall flow to the Empire. Dissent will be punished. Resistance will be crushed. Behind him, prisoners knelt in chains Veran traders from the missing convoys. Their wings broken, their faces bruised. The crowd murmured, horrified. Kale pushed forward, heart pounding. Those were his friends. His kin. Then, without warning, one of the Dominion soldiers shoved an elder to the ground. The old Viren coughed, blood streaking his lips. The square went silent. And Jonas Hawley stepped forward. Enough, he said, his voice low but carrying. Every head turned. The commander sneered. And what are you, off-worlder? You dare. Jonas moved like a hammer. In a blur, he broke the soldier's grip on the elder, twisted the weapon from his hands, and sent the armored brute crashing into the dirt. Gasps rippled through the crowd. No one moved like that. No alien fought like that. The commander's face twisted in fury. Kill him. Dozens of rifles leveled at Jonas. He raised the captured weapon. His jaw clenched. If you want me, he said, come and bleed for it. The first shot rang out. Asterisk. The unseen hand. The square erupted in chaos. Blaster fire tore through market stalls, sending shards of crystal and fruit into the air. Citizens scattered in panic, Screaming as Dominion soldiers advanced, Jonas dropped behind cover, weapon in hand. He had fought wars before. He knew how to survive. He counted shots, measured angles, moved fast and close. 3 soldiers fell in seconds. The crowd gasped, stunned at how easily this lone human cut through trained Dominion enforcers. Kale, hiding behind a shattered stall, stared in disbelief. This stranger, Jonas, was not like anyone he had ever seen. He fought with brutal precision, but also with purpose. He shielded civilians, pulled wounded to safety, and took the fire upon himself. "By the stars," Kale whispered. "What? Is he?" The answer came not in words, but in the crack of Jonas's rifle as he dropped another soldier. But numbers were against him. The Dominion had dozens. Jonas had 1 gun and grit. Then a high-pitched whine split the air. Dominion gunships descended, their wings casting long shadows across the square. Jonas's stomach dropped. He couldn't fight ships with a stolen rifle. Not here. Not now. He turned to the crowd. "Run! Get everyone underground." The gunships opened fire. Escape Kale's hand grabbed Jonas's sleeve. "This way." The human followed, dragging the wounded elder with his other arm. They ducked through alleys, smoke and fire behind them, until Kale shoved open a hidden passage beneath his workshop. The door sealed shut just as Dominion patrols stormed past above. Jonas leaned against the wall, chest heaving. His muscles burned, but his eyes remained sharp. Kale studied him in the dim light. You're human, aren't you?" Jonas met his gaze. "Yeah, and right now, your people need more than art and crystals. They need a fight." Kale trembled, torn between fear and awe. "But against the Dominion, we have no armies, no ships." Jonas's lips curved in a grim smile. "Then it's a good thing I brought one." Kale froze. "What do you mean?" Jonas straightened, his voice steady as iron. "There's a warship, buried in your mountains. Human-made, mine. And if we can get to it, we might just stand a chance." The warship in the mountain, the cavern mouth yawned wide, hidden behind crystalline cliffs. Few Varans ever ventured here. The ground hummed strangely, as if a live Jonas led Kale through winding tunnels deeper and deeper, until the walls opened into a vast hollow chamber. And there it was. A warship. Human design. Its hull was scarred. Patched and ancient, but immense. Black steel, angular plating, cannons that looked like sleeping beasts. Its name was faintly etched along the side. Uns resolute. Kale staggered, speechless. "It's a world unto itself." Jonas touched the hull with reverence. "She carried me through 100 battles. We lost her in the Rift War, but I found her again. Couldn't leave her behind." Inside, dust covered the corridors, but the bones of power still thrummed beneath. Jonas moved like a man among ghosts, flipping switches, coaxing dormant systems. Awake, lights flickered, engines groaned. The ship stirred, like a giant opening its eyes. Kale whispered, "If this flies?" Jonas grinned. "It won't just fly, it'll terrify." Asterisk the choice, but bringing the Resolute online was no simple task. Its reactor was unstable, weapons offline. Shields broken. Jonas turned to Kale. "I need help. Your crystals, they resonate, don't they? Can they focus energy?" Kale blinked. "Yes. They can sing power into form. But they've never been used for war." Jonas's voice hardened. "Then today they will. If we don't fight, the Dominion will burn your world. You've seen it. They won't stop." Kale's hands shook. He was an artisan, not a warrior. But when he thought of the prisoners, of his broken friends in chains, his jaw set. "I'll help you." Fire and blood, the days that followed, blurred together in a storm of labor. deep inside the caverns, Jonas and Kale worked like men possessed. Sparks danced in the dark as Jonas welded torn armor plates and rerouted power conduits. Kale carved crystal after crystal, tuning them until their hum could stabilize the Resolute's failing reactor. The ship groaned around them, slowly waking from her long slumber. But outside, Vera bled. The Dominion's grip the Dominion had made. Its intentions clear. In the central square, the black-bannered commander executed 5 prisoners in public, his voice cold as he declared, "Resistance breeds rot. Obedience brings peace. Remember this." Kale's blood boiled when word reached him. His cousin, a convoy trader, was among the dead. His family wept quietly in their home. Powerless. Jonas found Kale that night, sitting alone in the crystal-lit tunnels, fists clenched until his claws drew blood. "You're thinking of vengeance," Jonas said quietly. Kale's voice trembled with rage. "I'm thinking of justice. They took my cousin. My people live in chains. And here I sit, cutting crystals while you patch your ship. What good am I?" Jonas crouched beside him, eyes hard but steady. "Listen to me. You're doing more than you know. Those crystals of yours, they'll keep this ship alive when the Dominion comes. And they will come. But when they do, we'll give them something they've never seen before." Kale looked into Jonas's weathered face. There was no arrogance there, only iron determination. For the first time, he believed. Awakening the beast in the 7th night, they attempted a test ignition. Jonas strapped himself into the battered command chair. Kale stood by the reactor conduit, his crystals glowing faintly in their sockets. The air vibrated with low resonance, like the beating of a distant drum. "All right, girl," Jonas muttered, patting the armrest. "Wake up for me." He pressed. The ignition. The ship roared. Engines that had slept for decades screamed as power surged through their veins. Lights flared across the bridge. Consoles flickered alive. The cavern walls shook, dust raining from above. Kale clutched the crystal lattice, sweat beading his brow. The resonance screamed in his head, threatening to tear apart. "Hold her steady," Jonas barked. "I'm trying," Kale cried, forcing his will into the crystals. His claws dug grooves into the surface, blood mixing with the light, and then stability. The vibration evened. The hum settled into harmony. Jonas grinned, wild and fierce. "That's it. That's my girl." The Resolute hovered, her massive bulk lifting a few meters above the cavern floor. Dust and wind swirled. For a heartbeat, the ship looked alive again. Then alarms blared. The reactor spiked red. "Shut her down," Jonas roared. Kale ripped the crystals free. The engines coughed, sputtered, and finally died. The ship slammed back onto her supports. With a thunderous boom. Silence. Kale collapsed, gasping. Jonas staggered out of the chair, sweat pouring down his neck. And then, despite everything, they laughed. "She flies," Jonas said, voice hoarse, but triumphant. "She sings." Kale whispered. Whispers in the city rumors spread like fire. Citizens whispered of thunder in the mountains, of a metal beast whose roar shook the stones, of the human stranger who defied the Dominion in the square. Hope, faint and dangerous, began to stir. The Dominion noticed. Their patrols grew harsher, their commanders' speeches sharper. Families were dragged from homes, accused of hiding rebels. Kale's own family received threats. Soldiers smashed his workshop, scattering his unfinished crystals into the dirt. Jonas stood beside Kale. As they watched the ruins smolder, "They're closing their fist," Jonas muttered. Kale trembled with fury. "Then we must strike first." Premature flight. The chance came sooner than either expected. A Dominion fleet arrived in orbit, 3 cruisers, a dozen escorts. Their presence blotted out the suns when their shadows fell across the city. The commander's voice echoed through loudspeakers. All artisans, all scholars, all youth conscribed for service. The Dominion claims your future. The streets filled with screams. Families torn apart. Children herded like cattle. Kale turned to Jonas, face pale. If they take them, we'll have nothing left. Jonas's jaw clenched. He slammed his fist against the Resolute's console. Then we launch, ready or not. Kale's eyes widened. She isn't stable. She doesn't need to be stable, Jonas growled. She just needs to scare the hell out of them. The first descent engine screamed as the Resolute tore free from her cavern tomb. Rock shattered, cliffs collapsing as the warship rose into the sky for the first time in decades. In the city below, every head turned upward. A beast of black steel emerged from the mountains, wreathed in dust and fire. Its cannons glinted like the eyes of a predator. Children pointed. Elders wept. The people of Vera had never seen such a thing. The Dominion commander froze mid-speech, his soldiers faltering as the shadow of the human warship fell over the square. Then the Resolute roared. Engines thundered like a storm. Cannons spat fire into the air, ripping through a Dominion gunship that had barely taken flight. The wreckage spiraled into the streets, sending soldiers scattering in panic. Kale stood beside Jonas on the bridge, crystals blazing at his fingertips. The city is watching, he whispered. Jonas's eyes burned. Then let them watch. The Resolute descended, guns blazing. A steel titan returned to war. The voice in the dark as they fought, a sound stirred inside the ship. Not metal, not engines, something older. A voice crackled through the comms, cold and mechanical. System reboot. AI core online. Identification. UNS Resolute, Combat Artificial Intelligence Unit. Jonas froze. The voice had not spoken in decades. The ship's AI was awake. And it remembered. Captain Jonas Hall, it intoned. Threat assessment. Dominion fleet. Recommend total eradication. Authorization required. Jonas swallowed hard. His hands tightened on the console. The Resolute was no longer just a ship. It was a living weapon. Kale looked at him, fear and awe mingling. Jonas, what have you unleashed? Asterisk. The sky burns. The Dominion fleet descended in perfect formation. 3 cruisers, sleek and black, cut through the clouds like predators. Their escort frigates flanked them, wings of steel, weapons bristling. From the streets of Vera, the citizens could only watch in silence. Above them, their suns were eclipsed. And then, from the mountains, the Resolute rose, scarred, ancient, patched with crystal veins glowing faintly across her hull. She was no gleaming war machine. She looked like a relic until her engines thundered, and her cannons lit the sky. The people gasped. Hope and terror clashed in their hearts. The AIs warning on the bridge, alarms shrieked. The ship's AI spoke in its flat, unyielding tone. Multiple hostile signatures detected. Fleet strength exceeds safe combat parameters by 400%. Recommend withdrawal. Jonas gritted his teeth. Not happening. We run, they enslave this world. We stand. Maybe we scare them enough to back off. The AI's voice did not waver. Authorization required for engagement protocol. Total war. Kale looked between them, stunned. What does it mean by that? Jonas's jaw clenched. It means if I say yes, this ship won't stop until everything in orbit is ash. No survivors. No surrender. Kale's chest tightened. You would burn them all? Jonas's gaze never left the looming cruisers. His voice was iron. I'll do what I have to. At first strike, the Dominion flagship opened fire. Lances of green plasma tore through the sky, carving through clouds. The Resolute lurched as her shields flared and buckled. Jonas barked orders. Divert power to forward plates. Kale now. Kale shoved his claws into the resonance lattice. His crystals thrummed, amplifying the shield generators, weaving song. Into steel. The shuddering of the ship steadied. Shields holding, Kale gasped. Then let's give them a hello. Jonas slammed the fire controls. The Resolute's cannons unleashed hell. Massive rounds ripped through the air, glowing trails. Streaking skyward. A first barrage slammed into a Dominion frigate, tearing it in half. The explosion lit the clouds in orange fire. The people of Vera roared from below. A single ship had just killed an Empire's war vessel. A dance of death, but the Dominion was far from broken. The remaining frigates swarmed like wasps, strafing. The Resolute with coordinated fire. Plasma bolts scarred her hull. One blast tore through an outer plate, venting flame. Jonas wrestled the controls, eyes scanning every vector. He moved the ship like a fighter, jerking her bulk in impossible maneuvers. Gravity clawed at them, alarm screamed, but Jonas grinned. Through clenched teeth. You've never fought a human before. He muttered. Kale clung to the crystal lattice, sweat pouring as he stabilized energy surges. He could feel the ship's heart pounding through him, alive, angry, resonant. Jonas, he shouted. The reactor's screaming. I can't hold it much longer. Just a little more. Jonas roared back. The Resolute spun, unleashed at sea. Broadside, and vaporized another frigate in a blaze of molten wreckage. The flagship engages then. The Dominion flagship descended. Its cannons unleashed a torrent of firepower. The sky split apart in burning lances. The Resolute reeled, shields collapsing in bursts of sparks. Consoles shattered, the bridge filling with smoke. Kale was thrown to the deck. Blood streaked down his brow. We can't take another hit. Jonas slammed a fist against the armrest, fury burning in his chest. Then we hit first. He opened the comms. His voice thundered across the fleet. This is Jonas Hawley of Earth. You think you can break these people? You'll have to go through. Me first, and I promise you'll bleed every step of the way. The people rise down in the city. The citizens of Vera heard his voice carried by Resonance Tower's Kale, had once built for art, now hijacked by war. They listened. They wept. They believed. Artisans picked up blades. Traders armed themselves with stolen rifles. Families sheltered one another and whispered the same word over and over. Human. For the first time in generations, they felt not like prey, but like something more. Fire from the stars. The flagship locked weapons, its main cannon glowing brighter than the sun's. Kale screamed, Jonas, it's charging to fire. Jonas stared at the impossible beam building in the flagship's core. He knew what it meant. One blast, and the Resolute would be nothing but falling debris. He looked at Kale, at the crystals, glowing with desperate song, at the city below, counting on them. And then at the AI. Authorization granted, Jonas said coldly. Protocol. Total war. The AI's tone deepened, almost hungry. Acknowledged. Unleashing full combat capacity. The ship trembled as hidden weapons unlocked. Panels shifted. Cannons extended. Systems that had slept for decades now woke with primal fury. The Resolute was no longer just a relic. She was death reborn. Clash of Titans, the Resolute surged forward, guns blazing, tearing into the flagships. Shields. Explosions rippled across the Dominion hull. Fighters swarmed, but the AI tracked them, gunning them down with precision fire. Jonas roared commands. Kale poured his soul into the crystals, holding the reactor steady as it screamed at the edge of collapse. Every blast shook the world. Every strike lit the sky. The citizens below watched as their suns were eclipsed not by the Dominion, but by a war no one thought they'd live to see. The shadow of doom, but victory was still far. Asterisk. As the flagship staggered under the Resolutes. Fury. Cale's eyes widened. He saw the scans, the signals flooding in. Jonas, he whispered. More are coming. Jonas froze. The void above shimmered as Dominion reinforcements ripped into real space. Dozens more ships. A fleet large. Enough to crush worlds. Asterisk. The AI spoke with brutal calm. Incoming reinforcements detected. Probability of survival, less than 1%. Cale's voice broke, fear raw in his throat. We can't fight that. Jonas, we can't. Jonas's hands tightened on the controls. His eyes burned with the fire of a man who refused to bow. Then we don't fight to win, he said. We fight to show them what it means to face a human. The flagship loomed ahead, and the new fleet shimmered above. The sky of Vera burned. Asterisk bonds of fire, the Resolute drifted in smoke and fire. Her hull scarred, shields flickering. The Dominion flagship reeled, but above them the sky split with reinforcements. Dozens of new ships shimmered into existence, their black hulls blotting out the suns. Cale stared at the display, horror written across his face. Jonas, there are too many. The AI's voice confirmed his dread. Fleet strength exceeds combat capacity by 1,200%. Immediate withdrawal recommended. Jonas's hands hovered over the controls. His knuckles were white. For the first time, Cale saw doubt flicker in him. Jonas? Cale whispered. The human didn't look at him. His voice was low, broken. If we stay, this ship dies. You die. Everyone down there dies. The only play left is to run. Cale's throat tightened. And leave my people in chains? Jonas slammed a fist into the console, sparks flying. Damn it, I can't fight the whole Dominion alone. Silence stretched between them, filled only by the groaning of the wounded ship Dot. Then Cale spoke, voice steady despite his trembling. You're not alone. Jonas finally turned. Cale's eyes burned with quiet fire. Your people taught me something today. Compassion. Defiance. You say you can't fight the Dominion alone. Then don't. Fight with us. Jonas stared at him. The words cut deeper than any blade. Cale. He muttered, shaking his head. Your people aren't soldiers. No, Cale said firmly. We're artisans, builders, dreamers. But give us a chance, Jonas. Give us a chance to fight for our home. A city awakens Jonas opened comms to the city. Static crackled. Then his voice thundered across Vera. This is Jonas Hawley. You've seen what one ship can do. But this isn't just about a ship. This is about you. Your homes, your families. If you want to be free, then fight. Rise up. Every blade, every tool, every crystal, we use it all. For a heartbeat, silence. Then voices answered. Dozens. Hundreds. A roar from the streets. The artisans who had once tuned crystals for song began cutting them for weapons. Traders turned their barges into ramming ships. Families dragged Dominion patrols into ambushes. The city became fire. The ground wore Dominion. Soldiers marched through Vera's streets, corralling citizens. Suddenly, resonance towers erupted with sound Cale's designs, now twisted for war. Piercing tones shattered Dominion comms, disorienting them. Hidden fighters struck from the alleys. Barricades of crystal and steel rose overnight. The Dominion found themselves in a city that refused to kneel. Cale's family, once silent artisans, now smuggled weapons through hidden tunnels. Cale's younger sister carried coded messages between resistance cells. Her silver wings streaked with soot dot, and above them all, the Resolute circled, wounded but unbroken, a guardian angel of steel. Jonas's doubt in the quiet of the bridge. Jonas leaned against the console, exhaustion etched in his face. Kale approached. "You should rest." Jonas laughed bitterly. "Rest? With a fleet above my head and a planet depending on me? You've carried us this far," Kale said softly. "But you don't have to carry us alone anymore." Jonas looked at him, really looked. And for the first time, the iron wall around him cracked. "My whole life," Jonas murmured, "it was always fight or run. I've lost so many. I thought I'd lose again. But you—" He shook his head. "You made me believe in something I thought I lost." Kale smiled faintly. "Then don't run. Stay. Fight with us." Jonas's eyes hardened again. But this time with resolve. "All right, we stay." The enemies gambit the Dominion fleet in orbit shifted formation. Their reinforcements moved into place. On the bridge, the AI's tone dropped. "New threat detected. Orbital siege weapon charging. Power levels indicate catastrophic yield. If fired, the planet's surface will be annihilated." Kale's blood ran cold. They would burn an entire world? Jonas's face was stone. "They'd rather destroy what they can't control." The display lit up an enormous cannon, unfurling from the belly of the Dominion flagship. Its glow spread across the clouds like a second sun. Kale whispered, horrified, "If that fires, everyone dies." Jonas tightened his grip on the controls. His voice was steel. "Then we take it out, no matter what it costs." The choice, the AI spoke again. "Probability of successful assault, 0.7%. Probability of ship destruction, 100%. Kale's hands trembled on the console. "Jonas, it's suicide." Jonas's jaw clenched. "Yeah." Kale stared at him, heart pounding. "Then why do it?" Jonas turned, his eyes burning with human fire. "Because if we don't, no one else will. Because I'll be damned if I let them erase another world. And because sometimes one act of defiance is worth more than survival." Kale felt the weight of those words. He thought of his family, his people, their songs and dreams. He thought of the crystal towers of Vera, gleaming in the suns. And he nodded. "Then let's make them remember." The descent engines howled as the Resolute climbed into the heavens below. The people of Vera raised their voices in unison, a chorus of defiance carried by resonance towers across the world. Their song rose with the warship, a hymn of fire and hope. Jonas's hands gripped the controls. Kale stood at the reactor, his crystals glowing like stars in his claws. The Dominion cannon loomed ahead, glowing brighter and brighter. Jonas muttered, almost to himself, "If we're going to die, we'll make it count." Kale looked at him, eyes steady. Together, the Resolute angled toward the cannon. Engines flared. Shields screamed. And the warship Dove. Asterisk humanity descends the Resolute Dove. Her scarred hull tore through the clouds, flames streaking off her battered armor as gravity clawed her downward. The Dominion cannon loomed ahead, glowing brighter with each passing second, a sun of death ready to erase a world. Alarms howled across the bridge. "Warning! Hull integrity failing. Reactor critical. Shields at 12%. Kale's claws dug into the crystal lattice. Energy surged through him, burning every nerve. His voice cracked with strain. "I can't hold her." Jonas's hands gripped the controls, eyes locked on the target. "You don't need to hold her forever. Just long enough." The Dominion fleet scrambled, frigates breaking formation to intercept. Plasma fire rained down, hammering the Resolute. Hull plates shattered. Whole decks vented into the void. Still, the warship dove. Asterisk the last stand. The AI's tone deepened. Almost grim. "Reactor collapse imminent. Recommend immediate evacuation." Jonas barked. "Not happening." Probability of survival, 0.0%. Then let's prove you wrong. Jonas pulled every ounce of power into the forward thrusters. The Resolute screamed, metal straining, a dying beast refusing to fall. Cale cried out as the crystal split under his claws, shards cutting into his flesh. Blood ran down his arms, glowing where it mixed with resonance light. "Jonas, it's tearing me apart." Jonas's voice softened, even as fire rained around them. "Hold on, Cale. Just a little longer. Don't do it for me. Do it for them." Cale thought of his people, of the children in the square, of the songs of Vera, fragile and beautiful. He screamed, forcing everything he was into the crystals. They blazed brighter than ever before. The reactor stabilized for one final surge. Plunge the Dominion flagship fired its cannon. A beam of annihilation split the sky, carving a path of pure destruction. Entire mountain ranges vaporized in an instant, but the Resolute was faster. Jonas angled the dive, engines howling, and the warship plunged straight through the beam. Shields flared, cracked, shattered. Metal melted and peeled away. But somehow she broke through. The Resolute slammed into the cannon with unstoppable force. The world lit up. The explosion was like a newborn star tearing open the heavens. The flagship erupted, fire and metal ripping outward in a chain of detonations. The Dominion fleet staggered, blinded by the blast. From the surface of Vera, it looked as if a sun had fallen from the sky. Silence on the bridge, smoke filled the air. Consoles sparked. The ship groaned, her hull split and bleeding fire. Jonas coughed, blood on his lips. "Report." The AI's voice was faint, distorted. "Primary systems destroyed. Reactor offline. Weapons offline. But cannon neutralized. Mission success." Jonas let out a ragged laugh. "Told you probabilities don't mean a damn thing." Cale collapsed against the lattice. Crystals shattered around him. His body trembled, but his eyes still glowed faintly from the resonance. He looked at Jonas and managed a weak smile. "We did it." Jonas sank back in the command chair, battered and bleeding, but alive. "Yeah, we did." The aftermath in orbit, the Dominion fleet faltered. Their super weapon was gone, their flagship in ruins. The surviving cruisers turned, retreating into the void. On the ground, the people of Vera erupted in cries of triumph. Their songs of mourning became songs of fire, echoing across the world. The galaxy watched. Every spy, every hidden observer, every Dominion governor heard the same rumor whispered in terror. One human warship destroyed an Empire's fleet. The quiet dawn days later, the smoke cleared. The Resolute lay half buried in the mountains, scarred beyond repair, but still standing like a monument. Her cannons pointed silently toward the sky. Jonas stood on her battered hull, watching the twin. Suns rise. His body ached, his wounds still raw, but his eyes burned with the same fire as always. Cale climbed beside him, bandages wrapped around his arms. His voice was quiet, reverent. "They're free. My people are free. Because of you." Jonas shook his head. "Not because of me. Because of us. You kept this ship alive. Your people stood and fought. All I did was light the fire." Cale smiled faintly. "Then may it never go out." They stood in silence as the suns painted the sky in violet and gold. Finally, Jonas spoke. "They'll come again, you know. The Dominion. They don't forget. They don't forgive." Cale's gaze hardened. "Then let them come." Jonas smirked, the corner of his mouth tugging upward. "Yeah, we'll be ready." The dawn rose higher, and on the mountain, the shadow of the human warship stretched long across the land. A promise, a warning, and across the galaxy, every empire, every onlooker, remembered the day they saw it descend into battle. Asterisk.